who's really talking about it. Actually, that's not true anymore. There's a guy named Steve Hilton on Fox who's now starting to talk about technocracy, which right now, like for some of you, you should be going, okay, all right, I'm scratching my head. So Fox News is now starting to talk about this phenomena called technocracy, which if we understand our media starts to reveal the things that have already been occurring. They let us know later. Yes, after the fact. Thank you, Tracy. So, my friend Pat has been, for the last 2 years, studying this thing called technocracy, and he keeps saying to me, Debbie, Agenda 21 is not the destination. And so one day I was like, I'm trying to put my head together with this thing called technocracy, a scientific dictatorship, the science is settled. And then I thought, okay, so Agenda 21 is the agenda for the 21st century. What happens in the 22nd century and the 23rd century? And then it hit me. Agenda 21 is a stepping stone to something even bigger. These are nudges, they're steps. And this is a big one. The difference between a technocracy, so I invite you to go to technocracy.news. In my bio is there. You could read all about me. I don't need to tell you about me, but except for that I'm a proud cattle rancher's daughter and I ran for Congress in 2012, so I totally get what you guys are going through. I acknowledge you. It's tough work, but it is the greatest ride I've ever been on, to go door to door and go toe-to-toe with people in the San Francisco Bay Area who, you know, wanted to puke on me as soon as they heard I was a Republican. But you know what? But I grew some skin. So anyway, Technocracy Rising, you can find this book on technocracy.news, and I invite you to go to, that's one of my favorite websites, not because I'm on there, but because, you know, if you want to get the real news, we need to go to alternative news sources. Patrick, in his studies, also discovered a guy named Parag Khanna, highly, highly revered speaker, a futurist is what they call him. He used to have his own show, or showed up a lot on CNN. He wrote a book called Connectography, so like connecting the world, okay? So for those of you who know about Agenda 21, you're like ding, 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 because it's all about connecting the world through technology, through systems. The difference, so anyway, he wrote this book called Parag Khanna. He is not a good guy in my opinion. He wrote this book that was just launched this year called Technocracy in America. And he claims that in a technocratic state, there is no need for government, but rather governance. Government is people. The difference between communism, socialism, fascism, collectivism, all the isms, and technocracy is those are run by people. Technocracy is run by systems. You can defeat people. You upgrade systems. Is this making any sense? Yes. So when you move into an artificial intelligence, robot, high-tech world, it is harder to undo the things that are done when everything goes to computer modeling. Because who's going to question computer modeling? We should be, because the input, the original input, is somebody, a person. So without going too much more into technocracy, I invite you to get the book. It's been a lot for me to kind of wrap my head around. For me, it's easier to talk about something that impacts my family every single day, which is United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. My parents are cattle ranchers, and Agenda 21, the whole focus is saving planet Earth. Saving planet Earth from what? From human beings. And some of the worst human beings, according to these people, are ranchers. Why? Because we have lots of land, and our cows, supposedly because they burp and they fart, cause methane, which they say, oh my gosh, I think it was NASA that just came out with a new report. Yes, NASA, I think it was NASA, that came out with a new report that their numbers, that 9% of methane, global warming that cattle's cause, is much higher now. Are you kidding me? Have you seen a ranch and the offset, the mitigation, the grass that we grow? Doesn't grass absorb the carbons?
Yep.
We have vast amount of land and a few head of cattle, a couple hundred, and water and trees and all these things. Like my dad says, you know what? Our cows are actually good for the environment, and that is true.
Moo.
But that's not what children are being told. I don't have any children. By the way, please ask questions and throw things out there. This is not supposed to be Debbie gives a lecture. This is supposed to be engaging, and we're having a conversation here that actually is about our future. I call this Mama Bear because I don't have children, but let me tell you, if you can think about what a mama bear does when her cubs are under attack, her claws come out. And let me tell you, when you think about the United States, and all the states is separate, but sovereign and unique, and California is my baby because this is my home. But if you think about the whole United States together, and I know that if another state was under attack, I'd be there to defend that state. And what do people say about California? Oh, we'll let it go off into the ocean. Are you kidding me? This is the greatest state in the greatest nation that the world has ever known. It is. It absolutely is, and you should be proud. Here's why. It wasn't gold that has put California on the map. It's our agriculture. We use water. We divert water from the north part of the state to the south part of the state. Why? Why?
Because we don't have any.
And what can we do here in the south part of the state with your weather and your soil? Anything. Anything. You can grow anything in California. And we do. And we are described as the bread basket of the nation. We could feed the world. But you take away our water, you take away our land, and we are, you know, and the gold's gone. It's ag that keeps us here, and it's ag that brought Hollywood and biotech and biotech, high tech, all these extraordinary industries that have created extraordinary differences worldwide. We are a phenomenal state. And for those who want to leave this state because it's under such threat, I say shame on you, because God created California as the greatest state for the greatest nation. And I beg you to stay here and help us save the most extraordinary state.
Make California great again.
Make California great again. But you know what, folks? We are heading for a train wreck.
Oh, no.
Which state is the only state that has cap and trade?
Us.
Which state is the state that is violating its own constitution to create treaties and all sorts of deals with international organizations?
We are.
California. We were one of the top schools, remember? We were like 47 or something like that. We're like 0 now. Like, they have taken a great state and are destroying it. We are still heading for lots of trouble. I don't remember the dates. Tracy probably remembers it. When are we supposed to be combustion engine free?
Oh, right. 2035.
By the year 2035. On November 1st, our diesel is going up 20 cents. Yes?
Yes.
And what's the gas going up? Okay, I did the math on this on my way down. I had a 12-hour ride down, but I can't quite. I've got a civil engineer here who can help me. Okay, so let's say from Sacramento down here, it's like 400 miles, right? I saw thousands of trucks on my way down, going either north or south on Highway 5 the other night. I was driving down here around midnight. Okay, so let's say 1,000 trucks a day going one way to Sacramento. I could see he's turning red. He's like, oh my God, am I going to be able to figure out her math here? So 400 miles times, okay, let's just do one truck. And okay, so 400 miles times additional 20 cents is what? Okay, wait, so 400 miles, they get about 10 miles per gallon. So 400 miles divided by 10 is 40. So it takes 40 gallons, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Times 20 cents.
$5.
$5, okay, that's 1 day. Times 5 days.
$25.
Times 4, because there's,
100.
okay, times 12.
1,200.
Okay, times 1,000 trucks.
1,200.
$1,200,000 more taxes. That, do you think that's just going one way?
I'm a salesman.
It's just going one way, and there are trucks going much, and that's not including the licensing fees and all of that. That's just the additional 20 cents tax. Who do you think is going to pay for that?
We are.
That is extraordinary, is it not? I was at a rally in Santa Barbara the other day, or a couple weeks ago. It was a Stop the Gas Tax repeal, and I was down here and I went to the rally. I think there were maybe 80 people there. Why? Everybody should be at these rallies. It's extraordinary what we're experiencing. This room should be packed, not because I'm here. Every week, or when you guys have meetings, this room needs to be packed. And it should not be preaching to the choir. I was at a meeting a couple nights ago. I'm off track here, but we're okay with it. I was at a meeting. Something you probably have not heard of, many of you have not heard of, is the destruction of the Klamath River dams. The largest dam destruction project in worldwide history. It is something that is so near and dear to my heart. Why? Because my parents' cattle ranch is in the Klamath River Basin. And didn't we vote for Prop 1 to have more water? Right. I have the bill right here. Or was it Prop 1? Yeah, it was Prop 1. On the top of page 7, it talks about sustainable communities. For those of you who understand Agenda 21, on the top of page 7, it already says Agenda 21, but it says it in a different way. It says sustainable communities. Here it is. It also says in Prop 1, which overwhelmingly got voted in by, and even the Republican Party, even though people in Siskiyou County were begging people not to vote for this, on page 13, lucky page 13, it says, remove barriers to fish passage. What's a barrier to fish passage? So here we voted for Prop 1 overwhelmingly on the left and the right, the Republicans and the Democrats, and right here it says remove fish barriers, remove dams. So we were fighting hard to stop this bill. In fact, I even dressed up, I have a picture on here, at the 2014 California Republican Convention. I flew down from San Francisco, where I was living at the time, with a big pig head mascot, and I dressed up as a pig, and to encourage the Republican Party, here it is, I made the LA Times, to encourage the word, that's me. You see that? That is me. You see the resemblance? That is me. And I did that because there's so much pork in Prop 1. But going back to the meeting that I was at the other night, which it was with the Department of Interior. So here we elected Trump to undo all the horrible things that Obama and the presidents before him have done. And Trump appoints a guy named Ryan Zinke from Montana as the Department of Interior Secretary, who then appoints a guy named Mickelson, I can't remember his first name, who shows up to this meeting in Siskiyou County to talk about how the Klamath River dams, 4 clean, green, hydroelectric, renewable energy dams in almost perfect condition, flood control, drought control, irrigation, an ecosystem that's built up over 100 years, 365 days, 24/7 water, fire suppression, all these extraordinary benefits. And the Department of Interior shows up to say, we're sorry, we understand how you feel. This is what he said. I know how you feel. I'm just like you because I'm from Montana and I know what it's like to put a chainsaw on my back and cut wood. But times have changed. And all that water you rely on in California, he didn't say this, but he might as well have. You might as well just say goodbye because times have changed and things are tough. So the Klamath River dams, which you guys rely on, and you're not hearing about it for a reason, and under Sustainable Development and the Endangered Species Act are going to be destroyed, not removed. They want you to think it's removal by the year 2020.
That's around the corner.
That's very soon.
God.
And for the largest dam destruction project in worldwide history. And it's not just the 4, because they start with the 4. There's many more dams in the basin. They're just starting with those 4. Doesn't California need more water?
Yeah.
Not less.
Yeah.
But this is not about the environment, because the same coho fish that they claim that they're going to save are the same fish that in the 6,000 pages of environmental impact report and studies, plus peer reviews that we had to read as a public. You guys got the opportunity to do it too, but you didn't know about it. So we all submitted, many of us submitted our comments back. These reports, just like your cap and trade, your climate action plan schemes here, they're full of junk science. They're full of it. But when you are living in a technocratic state, it does not matter, because the science is settled according to these people. So anyway, we were in this meeting, and Mickelson, the guy, it should have been standing room only, but it wasn't. It was like 200 people in a town of like 60,000 people, and a state of how many millions of people do we have in this, 7 million or something like that, who are all going to be impacted by this. So why aren't more and more people showing up to the meetings? And here's what an attorney said to us. So we held a fundraiser a couple days later to stop the, to fundraise money. You know, we're just mostly Siskiyou County. It used to be the, one of the wealthiest counties in California. Now it's one of the poorest, because they took away our timber based on the spotted owl. Another lie. California Department of Fish and Game, I'm sorry, Fish and Wildlife now, they renamed themselves, because it's not about game anymore, it's about wildlife and rewilding. And that was done under Obama, but in 2013, Jerry Brown appointed a Trout Unlimited attorney named Chuck Bowen. Oh gosh, oh my gosh, I've met him so many times. Blank, but anyway, it doesn't matter. He's a radical Peace Corps Trout Unlimited attorney. And oh shoot, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Somebody help me.
So why are more showing up, and then the attorney says something?
The attorney said, okay, so we did this fundraiser. Thank you, Tracy. We did this fundraiser the other night, last Saturday, and it's like those fundraisers you guys do. You're there early in the morning, you're setting up all day, especially you Republican women, you know what I'm talking about. You do the cooking, you do the decorating, you put everything into it. And then people don't donate. Why? What is going on? Well, here's what the attorney said to us, and this is what I say to you. I'm just going to repeat what he said. For every person here, you should have 10 people that you brought. Every meeting. Every meeting. And then when you're now a member, you're bringing 10 people every meeting. So what's that going to take? It's going to take getting out of our comfort zones, isn't it? It's going to take saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to pick you up tonight. You guys have never done this in a presentation, so. But I think this is where the rubber hits the road. You have people like Arthur, and you have people like Tracy and Perry and Gary Galino, who are actually going and putting themselves out there in front of these city council meetings. It's scary, and that is not all of us. We can't all do that. I'm scared to do that. I hate public comment. But there are so many other things that we could do, including inviting people to get here. Do you agree with me on that?
Yes.
So otherwise, it's just preaching to the choir. And then if you have more and more and more people, you're going to have all sorts of kind of different levels of people being in action. My dad has always told us, and being a cattle ranching family, many hands make light work. So will you start inviting people as uncomfortable as it is?
Yes.
We have, I have. It's not like I've never done this.
I'm not saying you're not, because there are some people who do. But this room should be busting at the seams every meeting. You guys should have to go to a new, and this is, look, this is across, I speak all over California. And this issue is rampant all over California. It is. It's not just a low, being here problem. Could you imagine for the guys who are running in this room, what a difference it would make for them if this room was just exploding with people? All right, enough. Let's get on to Agenda 21. Here's where we're heading. We are heading into what is called regionalism. This is a map called America2050.org. You can find it on America2050.org. You can see Cascadia overlaps into Canada. Drop down into Northern California. In 2013, California regionalized what was my hometown. I have moved away this year. I can no longer handle it. So I bought an RV and sold my house in the Bay Area at a prime price, bought an RV so that I can go around the country and try and wake people up to this 21st century agenda. Southern California, you see where Southern California overlaps. Mexico. The goal has never been to protect. Agenda 21 is not about protecting borders. It's about sharing resources on a planet that's supposedly dying because human beings are consuming way too much. So we have limited resources according to the people who are pushing this agenda. And let me tell you, these people are very powerful. We're talking about the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Carnegies. George Soros, who I heard just today, donated $18 billion.
Yeah, I heard that too.
To fund, his open society groups, which they're paid to riot. They're paid to cause problems.
Antifa.
They're paid to, support Antifa. Thank you.
November 4th, they're going to riot.
Well, I'm sure they will. They love doing it. I know. It's frustrating, isn't it? So you know what happens? You know what happens in this kind of an environment when we have regionalism? When you have borders disappearing. So the Bay Area in 2013, and we fought really, really hard to stop this. The Bay Area, through groups called the the Association of Bay Area Government. It's a council of government. You have one here. You have a couple here. One is SCAG, Southern California Association of Government. And when I looked up Torrance and I looked up a group called ICLEI, what came up was SBC.
South Bay City Council of Governments.
South Bay Cities of Council of Governments. How many have heard of SBC-COG? How many have not heard of SBC-COG? Okay, so you should know about this group because they are collecting federal highway transportation funds by the federal government to implement plans under United Nations Agenda 21. That is a fact. We have renamed it Sustainable Communities, Smart Growth, Smart Cities, Comprehensive Planning. Anybody hear of those words?
Yes.
Smart meters.
Smart meters. Daniel Webster said, if all my possessions were taken from me, with one exception, I would choose to keep the power of communication, for by it I would soon regain all the rest. This is so important because all these plans that are being passed through, if we were communicating with our fellow neighbors and our family and we weren't afraid to speak up, if we weren't afraid of being called a conspiracy theorist, or we weren't afraid of filming and our government ignoring the Brown Act, if we were fearless, we would be using the power of communication to undo the things that are being done to us right now. Daniel Webster knew how important the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, would be for preserving and protecting a country that could experience what Britain experienced, what subjects experienced before they became citizens of the United States of America, which is a long, long history, over 800 years of tyrannical rule. They knew that if we were empowered with our communication, with our freedom of speech, that we might preserve what they fought so hard to give us. Daniel Webster also said, give them the means for detecting the wrong. Look at all the means that we see. the wrong that we see? How many notice that your bike lanes are expanding and your traffic is increasing?
Especially in this city.
Especially here. Yesterday in Santa Monica, I spoke at the Malibu Santa Monica Republican Women, and it took one woman who only drove 5 miles, 2 hours to get to the meeting. If you're going to push people out of your car, wouldn't you make driving nearly impossible? Wouldn't you make it painful? So, we have evidence of where things hurt. So give them the means for detecting the wrong, and they will apply the remedy. It's like cancer. If you knew, or a disease, if you knew you had a disease, you saw spots showing up, wouldn't you investigate what was going on so that you could do what? Find the remedy. So we're seeing, you know, all these abuses all over the place. Then he said, make them intelligent and they will be vigilant, and that's why I'm here. Because this, as long as we're educated, as long as we're an educated, intelligent people, I promise we will have people, and if you fill these rooms, we will have people who will be in action to turn things around. We have less than 3.5 years before we have a new president, or hopefully we don't. But we could have, and that was not a Freudian slip, I'm sorry, but we have 3.5 years to either keep the president we've got or get somebody else. That president, if it was somebody like Hillary Clinton, I'm telling you, we would be done already. We would be the United States of America, individual freedom and liberty would be gone. How do I know this? Because I go to the United Nations conferences. I'm one of very few people in the United States who goes to the conferences so I can hear firsthand what these guys are up to. In fact, I haven't bought my ticket yet, but I've already made plans to go to the next United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change Conference, which is happening in Bonn in November. The last United Nations conference I went to was the Paris Agreement. And I know a lot of you think that we're out of the Paris Agreement. That's a lie. Because the way the United Nations set it up was that we could not withdraw, no country could withdraw from the United Nations Paris Agreement until the day after the 2020 United States presidential election. So, if you are someone who wants sustainable development for the entire world, and you know that the United States is key to making that happen, wouldn't you be working as hard as you can to get this president out of office? Because if Trump remains in office on November, whatever it is, 2020, we're out of the Paris Agreement. But if somebody else is in and wants the Paris Agreement, guys, we're done. So now is the time to really get in action and do everything you can. I'm always asked, like, what do I do? Where do I go? So I'm going to do that in the beginning here. These are my favorite websites. The first one, called The Micro Effect, it's a radio show, and it's Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So you go to the microeffect.com. Tuesdays is a friend of mine, Dan Happel, an expert on Agenda 21 out of Bozeman, Montana. And Wednesday is me, and they're both from 8 to 10 a.m. This coming Tuesday and Wednesday, this next week, we are exploding on the United Nations. Why? Because October 24th is United Nations Day. On October 24th, which is a Tuesday, Dan Happel's going to have Christopher Monckton, Lord Christopher Monckton. Many of you have heard of Lord Christopher Monckton. He's one of the leading experts on the United Nations and the corruption and climate change and global warming. And then he's going to have Trevor Loudon to talk about communism. Yeah. And I'm going to have on Wednesday Dr. Willie Soon, the leading astrophysicist in the world. He is the expert on the sun and the solar flares that come from the sun. And you know what? When the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change does their IPCC reports, their International Panel on Climate Change, when they do their IPCC reports, they don't even include the solar flares from the sun. One of the leading factors in global warming, and they don't even include it in their reports. So I'm having him on my show on Wednesday, and then I'm having a guy named Mark Morano. Anybody hear about Mark Morano? Yes. He's on Fox News all the time. He is Climate Depot. You may get Climate Depot emails. They're extraordinary. They expose what is going on with Al Gore's hockey stick. How Al Gore came up with that famous hockey stick. You know what he did? He took a segment of time. He did not take thousands of years of temperatures. He took a snippet, like 30 years where there was a rise in temperature. And everybody believes that the temperature is rising because Al Gore keeps saying, look, here's this number, look at this tick up. So, anyway, it'll be a good show. Localactivist.org is another great site. It's a brand new one. Hardly anybody knows about this one. But it's done by Mary Baker. Who knows who Mary Baker is? Yeah. Mary Baker wrote a book called Citizen Ninja. She is the president of the Republican Women in the Southern California area. She is a huge activist. She understands Agenda 21. She's a mom. And she saw how people just weren't getting engaged because they're fearful. So she wrote a book and started doing studies on, what gets people in action. They do this, they're doing this training every couple weeks. It's online, anybody can do it. You get a book called Citizen Ninja. It's extraordinary. It teaches people how to do public comment. It's awesome. I took the 4 weeks of training. So you've got to do it. It's $50 and it's the best $50 I've spent, really, even going to these conferences. Because even me as an activist, I saw things that I am not doing and things that I need to do to save my country. I know, like many of you, I would rather die on my feet than live a day on my knees. But if our country is going to be run like California and people are leaving California because of all the abuses that are happening here, the taxes that are coming our way, the land restrictions that are happening, the pushing us into tight and if not tight lanes where we're in traffic for hours, they're going to charge us for toll lanes so we can go a little bit faster. I mean, is that not an abusive government who now is being caught for cheating and lying on their families? Is this extraordinarily disgusting? And they're getting away with it. Even the Republicans are getting away with it. See my mama bear, you guys? Drudge Report. Every morning I go to Drudge Report. It's the first thing I look at. And then technocracy.news, and then Red Pill University, extraordinary information on all of these sites. You don't need Fox News anymore.
InfoWars.
Or InfoWars is very good, but InfoWars has its problems. So, and InfoWars, Millie is a good friend of mine, and InfoWars has its issues. So, details are being pushed through. We're not being told about them, but they're there. They're not hiding them from us. If you go into your comprehensive plans, you will see smart growth, you will see ICLEI, you will see Agenda 21. But you gotta look. Just like in this symbol for FedEx. Remember it used to be Federal Express? And they narrowed down, Fred Smith, the CEO, said, you know what? I want to revamp FedEx. I want to upgrade FedEx. I want it to be cool. So he said, when we redo our logo, I want something in that logo, something hidden, a detail in that logo that represents who we are. So what does FedEx do in the world?
Shipping.
Forwards things, right? It's always forwarding things. So they put an arrow. Who does not see an arrow? Who sees the arrow?
Oh, I see it. Okay.
Once you see that detail, you can never, ever, ever unsee it.
Wow.
Ever.
Oh my God.
You will see a FedEx truck tomorrow, if not tonight. And you will see it every time. And this is what I say about Agenda 21 and all these other issues, whether it's vaccinations, climate change, cap and trade. The more we educate ourselves, the more we get into the details, the more we understand them, and the more we can never unsee them. The more power you have to start talking about these things freely, confidently with others. Because if we miss the details, we do not express the details, I hate to be Debbie Downer and gloom and doom, but we will be done. This is a detail that most people have never ever seen. So for you who don't want to talk about Agenda 21 because you don't want to be labeled a conspiracy theorist, let me give you some power right now. On October 2nd, 1992, it was a Friday night, 9:11 p.m. There are no coincidences. Remember when Nancy Pelosi told us we're going to have to pass it in order to find out what's in it?
Yeah.
She was practicing that a long time ago. Listen to this.
The clerk will report the title of the resolution.
House Concurrent Resolution 353, concurrent resolution expressing the sense of the Congress that the United States should assume a strong leadership role in implementing the decisions made at the Earth Summit by developing a national strategy to implement Agenda 21 and other Earth Summit agreements through domestic policy and foreign policy.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from New York.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong support of H-Con Res 353, expressing the sense of the Congress that the United States should assume a strong leadership role in implementing the decisions made at the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro. I now yield to the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Pelosi, the sponsor, to explain the resolution.
The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding. In fact, it is a very simple resolution, which the gentleman has just mostly explained. The Earth Summit Environmental Leadership Act, as this is known, presents us with an opportunity to follow up on the important work of the Earth Summit to develop its blueprint, Agenda 21, for global environmental action. H-Con Res 353 outlines a comprehensive national strategy for sustainable development in accordance with the principles of Agenda 21. I urge my colleagues to support this resolution. We must make the promise of Rio a reality. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentlewoman's time has expired. The gentleman from...
A simple resolution. This is only one document of United Nations Agenda 21. This is the United Nations Global Biodiversity Assessment Report. And you can see it's been some light reading for me. It's 1,140 pages of saying all the things that are unsustainable in the 21st century. Paddocks, livestock, fencing, roads that roads that serve human needs, power lines unsustainable, golf courses unsustainable, ski runs unsustainable, religions unsustainable, population, too many people. In fact, it says in this document, Perry has one, I don't know if Perry you're passing it around, but it says on the impacts, the chapter on the impacts of human beings, it says private property is unsustainable. But it talks about how that if the world lived like North America, like we do in North America, the world's population, the world could only handle, what was it, 500 million to 1 billion people. In other words, that in order to be a sustainable planet Earth, we would have to reduce the world's population. This is why all the time you hear that the world's population is growing. We're overpopulated. This is the policy guide. This is the 2011 policy guide, policymakers guide for that same document. You wonder why our city planners and our politicians don't understand the big picture. Either they don't want to or they're not being given the proper information. So this document is to replace this document and all of the conferences that have taken place for policymakers. Can you believe that? So what is Agenda 21? Well, that was 1992, and in 1993, who was president? Well, 1992 was who? Under George Herbert Walker Bush, Agenda 21 was soft-lawed into the United States of America. In 1993, President Clinton and Al Gore created Executive Order 12852, the President's Council on Sustainable Development. This is a document from that council, from President Clinton's council. And here's what they say about Agenda 21. Effective execution of Agenda 21 will require a profound reorientation of all human society, unlike anything the world has ever experienced. A major shift in the priorities of both governments and individuals and an unprecedented redeployment of human and financial resources. This is huge. This shift, they say, will demand that a concern for the environmental consequences of every human action. What human action are you doing right now?
Eating.
Breathing, okay. This shift will demand that a concern for the environmental consequences of every human action be integrated into individual and collective decision making at every level. So, collective, individual decision making at every level. Let's take a look at that. We have Obamacare, yes? What's the next step in Obamacare?
Single payer.
Universal health care, single payer. What is Jerry Brown trying to push us into? Is it now my business what you drink?
Yes.
Is it my business that you smoke?
Yes.
Why?
Because it costs.
Because I'm paying for you now.
Yep.
You're paying for me. That is an individual and collective decision making. So if you're trying to move everybody into one size fits all, isn't universal health care a very perfect system to even the playing field? To make us all the same? For consensus? For a democracy? And we're talking mob rule? Is this making sense? What they're using is this thing called sustainable development. And you heard Nancy Pelosi talking about sustainable development. So you should not be fearful of talking about Agenda 21 because it was her bill. Sustainable development is where social equity, we know you guys, social equity is what?
SGW.
No.
Social equity is women and men are the same. We should have the same jobs. We should get paid the same. We should all have the same bathrooms. What's economic justice? Wealth redistribution. And what's environmental justice? Rocks have rights. When my dad was working for the state, in Sacramento, there was a guy who was in the cubicle next to him who had a book on his desk, and this is no joke, that said, "Rocks have rights." I said, "Dad, did you ask the guy what the rock said?" So if you're going to have a sustainable business in the 21st century, you must encompass all three of those things. So if you're going to pay to play, you have to be sustainable in the 21st century. And Jerry Brown has even started B Corps in California. You can look up what a B Corp is. They incorporate all three of these things. Walmart has already done it too. You could see there's where Walmart is sustainable. And of course, you know, Hillary, she was the first female on their board. No coincidences, guys. This is Boy Scouts of America. And I don't know if you know Dan Titus. He is a great activist in your area in Southern California. And he called me one day and he said, "Debbie, you have to check out this website, greentodeepgreen.org. This is Boy Scouts of America." You can see they're using the symbol. And they also have this definition right here. Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Gru Harlem Brundtland. That's this book, taken directly from our common future. This is a United Nations document. This is where they came up with what Agenda 21, the definition for the 21st century, as well as sustainable development. Over here, you can go to the Sustainability Merit Badge PDF. You can download it. I've got it here if you want to. I could pass it around. But what it says in this PDF is, in order to get your Sustainability Merit Badge, here you go, you can, somebody wants to pass that around. If you want to get your Sustainability Merit Badge as a Boy Scout, or I guess it's a Girl Scout now, I don't know what they are.
Oh, I
but
know.
if you want to get
Social equity.
Social
equity right there.
Social equity, there you go. There's an example of social equity. Thank you, Arthur.
Oh my
If
God.
you want to get your your Sustainability Merit Badge, one of the steps you can do is you can take a list of all the things that your family has purchased from the store, for example, all their consumption behaviors. You go and you have a conversation with your scout leader, These are all the things that my family has purchased. By the way, I did talk to a Boy Scout who, I gave an Agenda 21 presentation in Northern California, and this cute little guy, it's on my Facebook, I did an interview with him, but this Boy Scout came up to me and said, you know what, everything you said about Agenda 21 is correct, and we're learning this in Boy Scouts. And I said, have you gotten your sustainability merit badge yet? And he said, no way. But anyway, what you do is you take an accountant's, an inventory of what your family has purchased, and then you, with your Boy Scout leader, decide what is unsustainable and what's sustainable, and what kind of conversation then you can go back to have with your family to tell them how, you know, these purchased items probably aren't really good for planet Earth, and maybe we should be playing our guitar at night versus listening to a CD. No joke. No joke. Okay, and then, you know, what I did as an activist is I called, as soon as I saw this, I called Boy Scouts of America, and I told them about this quote, and I said, you know, that the United Nations, I said, you guys, you're quoting the United Nations. It's abusive to the Boy Scouts, because here they're thinking, oh, you know, I'm learning about being an individual, a responsible individual. And what you're teaching them is about the United Nations, and the United Nations does not believe in the individual. They believe in collectivism, and they don't even believe in private property. And the guy said, so it was a kid who was on the phone, and he said, do you want to talk to my manager? And I said, well, of course, yes, please hand me over to your manager. I said the same thing to the manager, and he told me, please go back to and read our website, because clearly you don't know what you're talking about. He hung up on me. I called him back. I said, can I talk to your manager again? And I said, listen, you're not reading your website. You're irresponsible. He hung up on me anyway, and that was it. Anyway, but you know what? But it's just doing something. It's taking an extra step and calling somebody out, or at least trying to educate them. Yesterday, somebody who was running was at the meeting that I spoke at, and he was given the opportunity to come up afterwards and say, this is who I am, and this is why I'm running, and this is something that I'm going to tackle. And he brought up STEM. You all have heard of STEM?
Yes.
You all have heard of Common Core?
Yes.
Common Core, yes.
STEM and Common Core are this. So the whole room didn't say anything, and I could not leave without saying something to this guy, as uncomfortable as I was. And I said, anyway, I just said, you know, if you're going to be in Republican groups, talking about STEM is not going to get you elected, because you need to look into it. It's tied to Common Core. But anyway, look at this. The USGS, United States Geological Survey. By the way, they have been very, very aggressive in destroying being a partner in destroying the Klamath River dams that I talked about earlier. But look at this. The USGS, the federal government, the Department of Interior, sustainable development is a normative term like liberty. What? Or equality, according to German philosopher. Oh my gosh, look who they're quoting. In the United Nations report, Our Common Future. Okay, so Boy Scouts quoting. Now we've got USGS. Our Common Future, commonly called the Brundtland Report. That's just the name of Gro Harlem Brundtland. She was the first female prime minister of Norway, and then she's the one, this is her document, hired by the United Nations. Sustainable development is defined as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations. Hello! This has become the most accepted definition internationally. This was done in 1994. How many people have heard about sustainable development? How many of you heard about sustainable development in 1994? When did you start hearing about it? Like 5 years ago,
5
maybe.
years ago, yeah.
Look, Federal Register, August 24th, 1998. This is the EPA. Sustainable Urban Environment Effort. The Sustainable Development Challenge Grant money, taxpayers, program is also a step in implementing Agenda 21, the Global Plan of Action on Sustainable Development. Who is the conspiracy theorist here? Signed by the United States at the Earth. Okay, they admitted. We signed on to it. In 1992, who was president?
George W.
It's
Bush.
not a left-right issue. It is a freedom issue. This is a right-wrong issue. All of these programs require broad community, keyword, participation to identify and address environmental issues. Okay, so why did it take us so long to hear about this? J. Gary Lawrence is a planner up in the state of Washington. And this is what he said in this United Nations document called The Future of Local Agenda 21 in the New Millennial. He says that participating in a UN, I have it on here, participating in a UN advocated planning process would very likely bring out many, like Miss Debbie Bacigalupi and Tracy and Perry and Arthur, who would actively work to defeat any elected official undertaking Local Agenda 21. So we will call our process something else, such as comprehensive planning, growth management, or smart growth. Just like Daniel Webster warned us, we would be made the dupes of designing men. We were forewarned and we have not been listening. These are the main documents. I showed you one. The Earth Charter. You are a United Nations ICLEI city, are you not? You got us out.
We got out.
Okay, so Tracy got you out. Wow. What does that mean?
I don't think points is in it at all.
The problem with that, the good thing is you're out. The problem with that, it's already in your plans.
Yeah.
So ICLEI is the International Council on Local Environmental Initiatives. Said another way, it is a United Nations non-government organization. How many people keep hearing about NGOs? They're dangerous. ICLEI is an NGO that inserted itself through its MOU, its Memorandum of Understanding, in Torrance and most cities in California. When you sign on to the Earth Charter Initiative, which is to replace the U.S. The Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, they even have this in their documentation. I have a book here called The Earth Charter. By the way, the United Nations was created by the Rockefeller family. So was the Earth Charter. This is Steve Rockefeller was a big part of creating the Earth Charter. But this document, their document says a framework for global governance. It's right there. No hidden details. When you sign on to the Earth Charter, as you did, or onto ICLEI, which is supposed to help you count your greenhouse gases and then mitigate your greenhouse gases, help you mitigate through a software program, they get you in sneaky ways. You also sign on to, according to ICLEI, and I have their charter right here. This is the this is the ICLEI charter that you guys signed on to. We signed on to. I don't mean to make it about like your bad thing. We all signed on to this, almost all throughout California. Chapter 1.7, or Charter 1.7 principles. The association, the association shall promote and ask its individual members to adopt the following Earth Charter principles to guide local action. It's in the MOU that we are all signing on with ICLEI. It's there. We just weren't paying attention to the details. The detail is this: the ultimate map, their ultimate map, which is also where this map came from, is this document and the convention that came from this, the convention that went along with this document. This is the Wildlands Project map. And a doctor named Dr. Michael Kaufman, if you're familiar with the American Freedom Alliance and what Avi Davis was up to, he had Michael Kaufman come speak. In fact, I spoke with him. It was an honor. We lost Michael Kaufman to cancer this year. We've lost a couple of these great scientists.
Avi Davis.
And this is why I plead we need more people, because we're losing people, and good people in this battle, scientists in this battle. This is a map where the red zones are core reserves and corridors limited to no human use. The yellow is buffer zones, highly regulated use. My parents' ranch, red. I mean, if you saw it, it's beautiful, and you would know that we have springs bubbling out of the hills and water, and I mean, it's just spectacular. So of course they want it. Normal use zones right here, and all in the east. So this is why we come up with the attack on the west. But you can see the black here is where there are high populations. So these are where we live. And you could see, if you remember that map from the beginning, that we had the Cascades, we had Northern California, and we had SoCal regions. This map matches America2050.org. The future that they have for us, under this system where we rewild and we make corridors and corridors and buffer zones for animals to roam freely in, where our energy sources are no longer fossil fuels. Our energy sources, and Jerry Brown has admitted this, come from a few resources, solar and wind mostly, and his sites dam. While he destroys the dams that, you know, benefit my parents' property and so many, he wants to build the sites dam. Yes, sir.
You mentioned Michelson again. He's the guy that wants to shut down the dams. And
Yep.
I might have misunderstood it. Was he appointed by the Trump administration?
He was appointed by Ryan Zinke, Department of Interior.
And he's part of the Trump administration.
And he's part of the Trump administration. Mickelson, over 30 years ago, was on an agenda to remove dams.
Okay.
There's a guy named Lester Snow who is working within California who was appointed by Bruce Babbitt. Bruce Babbitt, when he was Department of Interior Secretary under Clinton, he said way back then that when he was Department Secretary, he said this in 2013, that he wishes instead of taking his fly fishing pole to those dams, the storage lakes behind the dams, that he took an axe. So these guys are admitting that they are, you know, well, he was also on the President's Council for Sustainable Development. So it's like follow the money, follow the ties. It's the same guys every time. So this is the ultimate map, and this is the ultimate energy source.
Oh!
This is the Altamont Pass in the Bay Area. And you don't see that in the news, do you?
That's a California condor?
They don't want you to see
Also
that.
hard hit are burrowing owls. The study.
Wow.
But you're not going to hear about that.
Animal.
Because under their sustainable future, dams are out, hydro out, solar panels, and wind turbines in. The ultimate goal in the 21st century is the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, where Obama pushed this through in 2014, where we pledge that no one will be left behind, followed by, in 2015, the signing of the Paris Agreement. And I was at the Paris Agreement, and the goal of the Paris Agreement was to maintain the world's temperature by, what was it, 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit. How do you do that? The world must live commonly as with a sustainable development lifestyle. Yes, sir.
You have a copy of that chart, by the way?
This one?
Yes.
Oh, you can
So
just
I can look at it and understand it?
you can go to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals website. It's there. It's all over. In fact, Walmart has this same chart. So I can give it to you afterwards.
Walk into a Walmart.
Well, I don't know if you can walk into a Walmart. They're not going to want you to know that they're supporting the United Nations, but I'll show you a slide from Walmart coming up. Okay, so here are the goals. By the year 2020, this is what we've signed on to. Maintain the genetic diversity of seeds. What is that? Anybody want to say what this means?
GMOs.
GMOs. Target 3.6 by 2020. Have the number of global deaths and injuries from road traffic accidents.
Get rid
How
of
do you
roads.
do that?
Get rid of roads and cars and
You're experiencing it now. Get people out of their cars. Target 3.8. By the way, there's 169 targets. Achieve universal health care coverage. We've signed on to all this stuff.
no.
Vaccines for all. I just took these right out of their targets. By 2030, ensure that all girls and boys complete free, equitable, and quality primary and secondary education. Who's defining what equitable and quality primary and secondary education is? It's not you anymore, which is where it was supposed to be. By 2030, ensure that all learners, who's all learners? Everybody. Acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development. In other words, you become a soldier marching to the Sustainable Development Goals, making sure that you are including others, you're educating others on the Sustainable Development Goals. Does this not sound like something that you would find in communist Germany?
Right.
By 2020, protect and restore water-related ecosystems, including mountains, forests, wetlands, rivers, aquifers. You remember I told you, what year are they supposed to destroy the Klamath River dams?
2020.
By 2020, substantially increase the number of cities and human settlements adopting and implementing integrated policies and plans towards inclusion, resource efficiency, mitigation and adaptation to climate change, resilience to disasters. Does this not sound familiar? We are here. Implement the 10-year framework of programs on sustainable consumption. Walmart, consumption. Walmart, by 2030, ensure that people everywhere have the relevant information and awareness for sustainable development and lifestyles in harmony with nature. Walmart is saying we are fulfilling on these goals. In fact, we even have a sustainability leadership leaders shop. What they're doing is they're going to start, this goes on and says, with Walmart and Sam's Club, we are only going to buy from suppliers who use the sustainability index to evaluate and share the sustainability of their products. Is this extraordinary? You vote every day with the dollars you spend. Every dollar you give to Walmart is supporting what Walmart is up to.
Great.
And if you want to say, I hear this all the time, this has nothing to do with private property. Really? City council members have said this to us. Check this out. The next video is a guy named Reed Noss. He's all quoted all throughout the Global Biodiversity Assessment. You can go to California's biodiversity website and find quotes from Reed Noss. But listen to what he says. This is extraordinary. It's a 2013 speech. Reed Noss is a professor in Florida, and he's speaking to Florida students about biodiversity.
As a grad student back in the 80s, I devised a conceptual framework for a statewide network of conservation areas across Florida. Now, the real map was very detailed. We didn't have GIS back then, okay? So it was a paper map, a wall map, 1 to 500,000 scale, on which I put overlays, okay, to draw these corridors and core areas and buffer zones and so on. So this is a very simplistic artist rendition of that network. Now, as you might imagine, this was perceived at the time as being somewhat radical. It actually appeared after a conference we had on the front pages of newspapers in the state. My advisor was about ready to fire me. He'd kick me out of the university. But, curiously enough, within just a few years, state agencies and mainstream conservation groups like the Nature Conservancy and Florida Autumn Society were starting to kind of secretly refine my map, improve it, and use it to identify priorities for land acquisition.
Priorities for land acquisition.
And similarly, some other states now have developed similar networks, especially California, I think, provides a really good example.
Whoa.
A Wildlands Network map, AB 2785, renamed California Essential Habitat Connectivity Project, supported by Caltrans, Department of Fish and Game, Wildlife, and Department of Transportation. Connecting the wildlife corridors together. Then we have the California Foothills Legacy Area. This is 18 million acres being studied from Redding to Fresno for limited to no human use based on biodiversity. Northern Sierra Nevada Foothills Wildlife Connectivity Project, you can find this in the news right now. This is for the Sierra Nevada yellow-legged frog. 2 million acres now protected for the frogs. That's 30 million acres combined of California land being studied under biodiversity for limited to no human use. The agriculture capital of the world. And then I talked to you about the Klamath River Dam. 4 clean, green, renewable energy dams. The first one, the biggest one, Iron Gate, is 187 miles upstream, up from the ocean. Behind these 4 dams is 20 million cubic yards of sediment, pollutants. In order to breach or destroy these dams, they've taken Prop 1 money to help start funding. What they do is they punch the dams because they don't have the money, the funds, to properly remove the dams. So what they're going to use is a punching mechanism where, and this was the meeting that I was in the other night with Mickelson, where they said it's a business decision. We're sorry, the train has left the station. It's a business decision now. It doesn't matter what the science says. It's a business decision. We're going to destroy communities. We're going to destroy a community. We're going to destroy communities all the way down the river because this is now a business decision. 20 million cubic yards, 12,500 miles if you, halfway around the earth if you were to lay out the pollutants on, flat out. For the next 60 years that will waste its way, sludge its way out to the ocean. In their 6,000-page EIR EIS with the peer review that I was talking about earlier, they have given themselves a pass to kill whatever endangered species is in its path, in the sludge's path. This is not about saving the environment. Just like cap and trade is not about saving the environment because I could pay all the money I want and pollute all I want. That is what cap and trade is. Bruce Babbitt, part of the President's Council on Sustainable Development, said, with public opinion now moving our way nationally and in the Northwest, this is under the Obama administration, we ratcheted up our efforts in Congress to finish off the Elwha dams in the state of Washington. That was the largest dam destruction project. Slowly, at what seemed a glacial pace, funding started flowing. I'm sorry, Arthur told me I have 10 minutes, so now I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta hurry. So under the Obama administration, the Elwha dams were destroyed, and here's the important part. He said, others will have their own compelling priorities, and there are still 75,000 dams for consideration. I'm sorry, don't we need more dams? Don't we need more stored water? These guys are on an agenda to destroy. To destroy our use of cars, to destroy what we have as carbon, to destroy our life, I would say the lives that we know, to destroy our children's education, to destroy our health system and the health of our bodies. These guys are destructionists. They are not progressive. They are regressives. They're not progressives. And then usually what I show, but I'm not going to show you guys because you guys know all about Gary Galeno, but a lot of times I show this little clip of California 2.0 where Gary goes in to prove what we've just talked about by saying, look, they're trying to consolidate us all into regions. This is what's happening in Southern California right now. You guys have to fight really hard. We were already regionalized in the Bay Area. You're next. The difference between you guys and us, we didn't have the Mexican border. We were completely enclosed in California. Much different deal when you're just dealing with inside the United States. Now you try and convince people, oh, we need to merge with Mexico. Try that on. Daniel Webster said, our destruction, should it come at all, will be from another quarter. From the inattention of the people to the concerns of their government, from their carelessness and negligence, I must confess that I do apprehend some danger. I fear that they may place too implicit a confidence in their public servants and fail properly to scrutinize their conduct. Are we not doing this?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm scrutinizing them now.
Arthur's scrutinizing them now.
Yes.
It's about darn time.
That's it.
That in this way, we may be made the dupes of designing men and become the instruments of our own doing. I already showed you green to deep green, but I didn't show you this. This is a Common Core reader. Remember I started off with lipstick? Here's what a third grade reader of Common Core is. I won't wear lipstick today if it'll make you feel better. What's wrong with lipstick? What's wrong with lipstick?
Nothing synthetic.
It's not sustainable.
Kids are being taught that lipstick is bad. And I'll only drink half a cup of coffee, Dad said. But Judy could hardly hear him over the grinding of the rainforest coffee beans. What's wrong with rainforest coffee beans?
They're delicious.
You have to cut down Amazon forest, right? To have coffee trees. Her family sure knew how to ruin a perfectly good Mr. Rubbish mood. She put on her jeans and her spotted owl t-shirt. There it is. What's wrong with the spotted owl?
What's endangered?
Because?
The environmental
Because timbering, right? But what the California Department of Fish and Wildlife just admitted was, it's not because we're timbering old forests, it's because the barred owl is mating with the spotted owl, and therefore we're seeing a decline in the spotted owl population, and therefore we must start killing the barred owl. No joke. And to save water, she did not. This is a third grade Common Core reader.
Oh my God.
This is a third grade Common Core reader, and the teacher from New Mexico sent this to me, another cattle rancher. She clomped downstairs in a mad at your whole family mood. Mom, here's your lunch. Mom said, Mom, it's in a paper bag. What's wrong with that? Mom, it's in a paper bag. What's wrong with that, stink ass? Don't you get it, said Judy. They cut down trees to make paper bags. Trees give shade. They help control global warming. We would die without trees. They make oxygen and help take dust and stuff out of the air. Dust, said Mom. Let's talk about cleaning your room if we're going to talk dust. Who looks like the fool in this passage? And this is what kids are being taught. And Boy Scouts are being taught the same. He alone, yeah, and it's total disrespect of authority. He alone who owns the youth gains a future. That was our friend Hitler, who was considered great. He called himself Grey Wolf. But it doesn't just stop there, and I'm probably out of time, but I want to show you this. I'm asked to teach every year, because I ran for Congress in the Bay Area, a government class at my alma mater, Notre Dame de Namur. And I look at what textbooks they're reading in the government class. Look what they're learning. Smart growth. Smart growth is government efforts to limit urban sprawl by managing growth. In other words, telling you where you can and cannot build a home, where you can and cannot live. Regional governance. Regional government is a structure put in place because of the interdependence of proximate communities. In other words, in a region, because we're all similar and we all share resources, what starts happening to your vote?
Gets dissipated.
It does not matter anymore. What gives us the power as people? Isn't that the only power we have? That protects the supreme law of the land? Is who we put in Washington, or who you put in Torrance or Hermosa Beach or where at Huntington Beach in office to represent you. Isn't that where our power comes from? And we're losing it. And are you going to let this happen? Because this is the future right there, unless we stop it. And it doesn't matter that they call you a conspiracy theorist. They call me a failed candidate for, this is Southern Poverty Law Center, by the way. This is a offshoot.
Oh yeah, they're so reliable, aren't they?
Yeah, so they've been targeting me. I guess I'm doing something right. So they called me an anti-Indian, tried to tie me to the KKK, and anyway.
Oh my God.
And so, you know what? Be proud. Because she is the true conspiracy theorist, not me.
Yeah, Mama Bear.
And I am so Mama Bear. And we need to be Mama Bear to these people too, because our own GOP has sold out on us in so many ways. With that, I just want to say, this, I've gone toe to toe with Al Gore. This is Hey Al, I just saw Inconvenient!
Oh, great.
I won't play it, but that's me going toe to toe with Al Gore at Sundance Film Festival, and I'm asking him about the 10-year tipping point. And why my friends are making fun of me because, and look at this look. Let me tell you, that man is a mean man.
Looks like Soros.
He would not answer me. And he got in his SUV, his gas-guzzling SUV, and drove away.
That's right.
It won't go forward. I also confronted Al Gore just in Australia recently.
Wow.
Oh, and here's that. I won't play it.
He's upset because you called him out on the internet.
We're handing them the Climate Hustle book that explains the whole global warming on the other side, on our side. And he goes out and he gets into his SUV, another SUV that had been idling for 2 hours. I know that because I was sitting right by it. And then we got accused of violating security. And that's Mark Morano right there. He'll be on my show on next Wednesday. And then I went to Sundance Film Festival, like I said, and I interviewed all those women who wear those horrible, disgusting, pink, disgraceful hats, and things that they were saying are that global warming will limit the amount of children they have, that we can't have sex, if there's global warming. I mean, these people are just nutso.
We don't want them to do anything. I
And
don't
then,
want
of
them
course,
having kids.
When I do,
Oh,
I'm
yay!
so-
I remember
you
that
guys,
one.
Listen, I just have to tell you this. Everywhere I speak, this comes up because I'm so proud of you all. I am so proud of you guys all because there is nobody in Northern California that I know
Oh my God.
that is doing this kind of thing. You guys are leading the way, and you should be so proud because there are so few people who are willing to stand
Hey, and there's
up
Steinort's
against these people.
that's Steinort's main squeeze right there. She's sleeping. He's
Is
sleeping
she?
with
That's
that's
true?
it. That's the slut that he's sleeping with.
How many saw? Who did not see this video? Who?
Why not-
So you don't know what happened here?
Why don't we have the? Let's put the audio on.
All right, let's do the audio.
Okay.
They're telling you to leave, Arthur?
Yeah.
Oh, that's when they arrested you? Screw me.
No.
I clipped it down. I clipped it down because it's like long. But
Oh
I
my
clipped it
gosh.
down in just a few minutes.
Today is July 27, 2017. We are in Rancho Cucamonga. We are here to see Assemblyman Mark Steinorth. Mark Steinorth is one of the Republicans who sold us out to cap and trade.
Yep.
The door's locked.
That's nice.
Oh, wow, how gerrymandered this is.
And families in Southeast LA County, in Torrance, throughout the state of California who are barely making ends meet, people spend 50% of their salary on housing, and now we've got to spend another 20% on gas. Yep. What would you like to tell them? No, it's not funny. It's not, how are you? It's not funny and cute. She thinks it's funny.
Wow.
Whoa.
Financially.
What's down here? Oh, that's very offensive.
I'm not here to boot you, I'm not here to boot you.
Not here to boot you out.
Hold on, let him speak, let him speak.
Let me speak, let me speak. Okay. But you've been asked to leave. So, if you could, go ahead and leave, because you're not doing anything constructive.
Oh. Wow.
First of all,
We made our point.
I appreciate the First Amendment and everything that goes along with it. But
Sure you do.
she offered to speak with you, but you're just kind of.
But you're not.
Wrong, she actually didn't. She said, well, you can set up a meeting with the assemblyman. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. We're right here. You're more than welcome to leave now. You've been asked to leave.
Yeah.
Okay? And what are the consequences if we don't leave?
Because I don't see why we can't hang out here and enjoy our taxpayer-funded operation.
Well, you can't hang out here. Why not? Because you can't hang out here.
Okay, well, you guys are
I'm offering. No one's running from you. No one's hiding from this. I'm offering a meeting with the men themselves.
I'm offering a date with my boyfriend.
Okay, 2, 3, wow, five.
Hey, hold on. Are there illegals running amok our state?
Get this. How many,
So let me just say what happened there, because it's 20 minutes. You can see, and I just clipped it. I did a horrible job clipping it. So they were trying to ask for, like, why are you guys raising? We just want to talk to Steinorth. We don't want to talk to you. We want to talk to Steinorth. Well, in the meantime, she had called the cops, right? So you got that?
Yes.
They come out. They finally, Arthur and everybody and Gary finally say, okay, well, we'll leave. When they left, and you saw Arthur go, whoa, what is that? The cop showed up. But this is what they walked out to.
oh, the CHP here. Outrageous. Oh, yeah. And another one right here. 1, 2, 3, the entire world, right? 5, 6, 7 with gloves. I know.
Look at his face.
Holy Christ.
They're all like, what are we doing here?
Oh my God.
Pay for those guys. What the heck? Was that the whole station?
Wow, look at this.
And they blocked up the parking lot.
Look at this.
What the heck? They drove up to it.
This is because Republicans in California showed up to a Republican assemblyman's office.
They have the chopper? They got the chopper on you?
Yep. That's right.
Look at this. This is California for you.
All for Arthur. Arthur's a terrorist.
Yeah.
Is that extraordinary? or what?
Yeah.
So the message that these guys are being taught is, don't you dare mess with the elected officials. Does that make you mad? Because that makes me mad.
And I just add, I have to add this, if you don't mind my asking, saying it isn't working.
What's not working?
We've excoriated Steinорth. We just explored Devin Mathis as a potential rapist.
Yes.
I understand two more.
They're running. Now is the time to be in action. If there is any time, you have the right president. You have all these issues going on. You've got people like Arthur, who is not afraid. He is bold, and that now's the time to act. Is what I'm trying to beg of you.
Yep.
Because we only have 3 more years. Hopefully we have more. But Jerry Brown is going to do what Jerry Brown wants, regardless of who is president. He's shown that to us. Sanctuary city, cap and trade, the Paris Agreement. They don't care about what we want. They're going to do what they want to do anyway. But you guys are getting people out of office down here.
Yes.
You're getting people removed. That is extraordinary. That is not happening in Northern California. You guys are extraordinary. And ride the wave is what I'm trying to say. Because if we had you guys up there, I'm telling you those dams would not be being removed by the year 2020. I know you guys would be standing on those dams, arm to arm, saying, don't you dare mess and uproot our lifestyle. But that's what they're trying to do to you here. Do you guys see the arrow?
Yes, I do.
You can never, ever unsee that arrow. Be the mama bear. Even if you're a man, it is time to stand up and be loud and proud, because they aren't stopping. We got to get involved. We got to do this, guys. Educate, communicate, but oh my gosh, do not hibernate. And the polar bears, they're doing just fine. Yes, sir.
Real quick.
Yes.
Do you know anything about the Oroville Dam?
Yes. Okay, they have 12 years to fix it. They didn't do anything. Why? Their agenda is not to fix dams. They said that in Prop 1.
They want us
remove
to die.
fish barriers.
So they're not
They want us people to die.
I think, here's what I think they, come on up. Here's what I think that they want. I think they want California to be an ecotourism city. or state. I really do. Where you come visit and, we're going to live in our regions, but people will visit California because we are considered, this is according to the United Nations, the 7th hot biodiversity spot in the world. That's an honor.
We can do 2 more questions. We'll wrap this up really quick. Any other questions? Because I know it's a lot and it's pretty,
It is. It's like reading or drinking from a fire hose. Yeah. But you know what? Here's the neat thing. What was that?
2 guys, these 2 jerks.
Yeah, and getting to Trump, if you guys can get to that, we're trying to get to Trump about the Klamath River dams, but they're protected. I'll leave you with this. We are the Republican Party, right?
Yep. We are.
Our symbol is what?
Elephant.
Okay, 2 things about an elephant.
Never forget.
The elephant in the room, right? There's sayings about an elephant in the room, correct? And the elephant in the room is, this stuff is real. It's not a conspiracy, it's fact. It is happening right now. You guys are being impacted. When they regionalize you, the rest of the United States will be easy. You're difficult because of your Mexican, same with Arizona, because of the Mexico border. But they are going after you because California is a willing state to go along with this. How do you eat an elephant? And as Republicans, wouldn't you rather be an elephant than an ass?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Did I say that?
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, calling Democrats asses is just totally perfect. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Absolutely. So I know this is okay. It is a massive, complex thing that this is part of the game they play for passing 1,000-page bills at 11 o'clock at night in Washington. Anyway, that's been a common scam, and this is why they have been doing that. So okay. I do have a couple things that I do have to make an announcement also regarding this. So this is really good. Please give her another round of applause. She came all the way from Sister to come on down here. I like to quote what a friend of mine, Chanel Temple, always says, the sheep are no longer asleep. Okay, although I kind of like mama bear better than sheep. Sheep don't bite as well as bears do. So, okay, I was hoping to do this in a more, if there had been a buffer of time, it is what it is, but I have to make it very clear. You did get an e-blast, and I did make that announcement. This will be my last year, okay? I am not running again as president of the Beach Cities Republicans. And incidentally, though, you have helped, because this fight is taking up more of the time that I have. Immigration, the Agenda 21 issues, the stuff happening here, going after Hussam Lausch, which was a lot of fun. I cannot do both. I can't run a volunteer club and fight these fights. In fact, there have been more events that I need to go to that happen on these Thursdays. And for me, I look at what I had run on 2 years ago, and I've seen it happen. More of you are active already. I've seen it. There are people who didn't do these things, going to city council meetings, going to these public events. You're doing that now. And I feel that there are people in this room who can now start getting others to come to these meetings. So I did my job. I got people motivated. We got people elected. Let's keep in mind, David Hadley got elected. When we had him for that brief time, we've woken people up. We've pushed back big green stuff in other parts of the South Bay. But for me to be diligently effective to do this, I have to put more time into these activities, going to these boards, blowing up these politicians, and ensuring better people are representing us. For that reason, I just cannot do all of it. In fact, I've even had to shed some other activist responsibilities to focus on clear issues in California. So that's why. So that's what I'm telling you. I feel like we defeated a corrupt organization. We brought down the Central Committee. I would say, Peter would have to confirm, I think we actually have more money than the Central Committee does. They've gone bankrupt. The executive director was laid off. We won, they lost. And unfortunately, that's the other thing too. For me, a volunteer club requires the willing partners I'm looking for, I'm not finding in we're the party, and I had to learn that the hard way. So that's another road that I have to follow. So I need a different venue to start making those changes. So that's why I'm letting you know. The segue is this. We have leadership ready. Peter Michael is ready. In fact, I was ready to run a third year, and then Peter actually said to me, Arthur, I want to be president. Hey, that's another goal that was accomplished, that there was somebody who wanted the job. So that's why I said I'm supporting Peter. Doesn't mean that if someone else wants the job, I'm not saying don't bother running. We are a democratic system in that regard. I'm supporting Tracy in another bid. Cheryl has been a diligent and effective second VP. I'm encouraging you to support her. We still need another member of the board at least. And I am urging you, you have until the end of this month to submit your name to run if you are a member in good standing. So I'm urging you to do that. But I am going to be honest with you, because of the growing demands, like having 30 sheriff's deputies chasing me in Rancho Cucamonga, and facing unjust arrest and fighting against that, I won't be able to commit to this club anymore. So I will be here at the last meeting. I have to be able to vote. I'll make sure we have the events ready for the last meeting too. I'm glad I've been able to be here as long as I could, and I have a feeling that we have new people, and we're going to have new elected officials very soon, who will be able to carry this fight. We've got a lot of building up from the ground up to do. We have seen corruption at the top. I helped to pull down our vice chair, who was a slut, cheating with the previous. So we've got Sodom and Gomorrah in Sacramento, and I'm just beginning to unpeel this. I apologize if my language is a little uncouth. Ladies, I want to respect you. Gentlemen too, but this is how bad I've seen it. I didn't realize how corrupt it was. We have a lot of work to do. Doesn't mean it can't be done. And for me to be able to do it with others, I've got to step into a new role. So I've laid that out there for you guys. It's been great doing this for 2 years. I'll be sounding off at the next meeting. Don't worry, I will be there. I hope all of you are at the next meeting. Make sure if you're interested in running for a board position, please make sure to file your name. You have until the end of the month. Make sure to do that. For this meeting's sake, please make sure to tip your waiters and waitresses. Please make sure to speak with Debbie, Tracy. Perry has his goods that he wants to sell. Talk to Rochelle as well for the fight that she's doing against radical Islam. Make sure to donate to any one of the candidates who've spoken here. And with that, because I know it's late, thank you again, Debbie, for doing this at the last minute. Thank you all for being here. Give yourselves a round of applause. Have a wonderful night. Thank you so much.
They come back and give us an update once in a while.
That's right.
That is a beautiful area, actually. That's near.
All right, folks, I'll be getting this uploaded at a proper time. Thanks for watching, everybody.